Supervisor Atkins of the TSA inspects Nadine Hayes' blue ice chest and finds items such as yogurt, grapes, sliced cheese, milk, cottage cheese, applesauce, and soda, which were all essential food items for the hydration and health of her 93-year-old invalid wheelchair-bound mother, Eleanor. Supervisor Atkins of the TSA smugly shoves the chest down the conveyor belt and smiles broadly as if something amusing is about to happen. Nadine contacted TSA and received an email from their contact center that indicated that she should not have any problem boarding the plane with the special food needed for her invalid mother, Eleanor. Supervisor Atkins of the TSA, however, appears to have another opinion as she converses with Agent Teta conveniently off-screen. Nadine is very busy trying to make the American Airlines flight to Nashville, Tennessee, for what could be her mother's last visit with her children and grandchildren. Something causes some very animated hand and arm gestures by either Atkins or Teta. The blue and white ice chest seems to be the focus of conversation between Supervisor Atkins and screener Teta. Nadine and Melee both hurry to gather their personal items and put their shoes back on. Meanwhile, no indication of any concern over the ice chest has been conveyed to Nadine at this time. The TSA pat-down agent plans to wheel 93-year-old Eleanor to a special off-camera location to the right. TSA officials claim that no other camera viewpoints are available, even though at least 9 camera positions can be counted in this small area alone. Perhaps we would understand what Agent Teta on the left is laughing at with her broad smile if there was audio or other camera angles available. 93-year-old Eleanor is now in an off-camera position. Eleanor suffers from many ailments of old age, including dementia, Alzheimer's, and very poor hearing. The inspections have caused her to become confused and frightened. The TSA pat-down agent enters and asks Melee to help calm Eleanor down. Perhaps that is what the other TSA agents are finding so humorous. The TSA pat-down agent refused to allow Melee to touch Eleanor, and so Eleanor does not calm down. Melee retreats in frustration and attempts to talk to the nearly deaf 93-year-old from 10 feet away, then checks her watch and looks to the busy Nadine. Finally, she just gives up and waits. Nadine continues to gather their belongings. She finally moves to screener Teta's station and reaches for her ice chest, which is yanked away from her. Eleanor is still terrified off camera. Nadine, frustrated by the lack of cooperation from the TSA agents and concerned for her 93-year-old mother, looks over to Eleanor and decides to abandon her position with screener Teta in order to calm her aged mother down. Nadine motions to her invalid mother. Nadine moves in closer so her nearly deaf mother might see her and calm down. Finally, Nadine cannot resist her desire to embrace her frightened mother, and so Nadine approaches her mother to embrace her. The off-camera pat-down agent abruptly yells at Nadine, "Don't touch her!" Nadine continues to try to calm her mother down. The TSA agents in line 2 on the right are intent on watching this apparently humorous sight of a 93-year-old nearly deaf invalid woman being terrorized by the search procedure. Nadine retreats in an effort to resolve the issue over the food at the other counter so she, her invalid mother, and the caregiver can make the American Airlines flight to Tennessee. Nadine is now informed that the contents of the ice chest will not be allowed on the airplane. Nadine explains that Eleanor will only eat and drink very specific items and that Eleanor could have some severe reactions if not allowed to have the food and beverage on board. She points towards Eleanor, explaining that her mother needs these items on the long flight ahead. Nadine continues to explain that these items are allowed to accompany her, and if not, it would endanger her mother's fragile health. All of this conflict has caused Nadine to get a very dry mouth, and so she attempts to drink from one of the sodas in the ice chest, but the agent forcibly grabs the can from Nadine's hand and mouth. Nadine attempts to repack the ice chest with her property. She continues to explain how fragile her mother's health is, and these simple food items are no danger to anyone. She simply must have them for her mother's health. And so Nadine grabs for the confiscated items in order to put them back into the ice chest in order to keep them cool and to not have them spoil. Supervisor Atkins closes the ice chest, grabs it in her arms, and starts to walk away from Nadine with screener Teta by her side. Frustrated, Nadine approaches them and suggests that if they will not allow the food to go on the plane, could they please keep it with her mother's wheelchair in the cargo section. Supervisor Atkins refuses to compromise and rudely stated, "We are going to confiscate everything." With this remark, Nadine reaches for the ice chest with her mother's food. Supervisor Atkins gives up possession to Screener Teta and a tug-of-war over the ice chest begins. According to the police report, the tug-of-war and further confrontation is with Supervisor Atkins, which clearly it is not. It is with Screener Teta. Lane 2 agent and Supervisor Atkins quickly move in to conveniently block the complete view of the surveillance camera. Nadine continues to explain about her mother's health and they have no right to take her property away from her, but Lane 2 agent is apparently explaining that they have the right to do anything. This is not what Nadine was prepared to hear. Nadine struggles for her property even though both of her hands are extremely arthritic and are now throbbing with pain. Atkins then assaults Nadine by shoving her gloved hand into Nadine's face, causing Nadine to jerk backwards to avoid being struck. The tug-of-war ensues with Nadine insisting that Screener Teta release her property. The agent complies and Nadine promptly goes to the nearby trash can and dumps the contents. Nadine now makes a very public statement that if anything happens to her mother because TSA is not allowing her food to go on board, that she will hold TSA 100% responsible. Agent Teta appears to be calmly texting someone on a cell phone. Nadine is very upset that she will not have her 93-year-old mother's food items, but is still going to try to make the impending flight. She then takes the now empty ice chest and gathers the rest of her belongings. Supervisor Atkins appears to find this all rather humorous, as seen by her broad smile to her colleague. She then must realize she is on camera and covers her smile with her gloved hand and walks backwards until she is safely off-screen. With all of her belongings, including an empty ice chest, in hand, Nadine races off to hold the flight until Melee is allowed to retrieve Nadine's aged mother. Melee is not allowed to take Eleanor. She is frustrated, confused, and weeping. Unbeknownst to Nadine, the airport police are on their way to arrest her and transport her in handcuffs to the Burbank Police Department on charges of battery. This is a citizen's arrest that, according to the police report, was made by Supervisor Atkins, who has continued to find this incident comically entertaining and was not directly involved in the tug-of-war incident over the ice chest. Atkins moves away to find a colleague to consult with. She moves off camera while Melee still awaits the opportunity to care for Eleanor. Wiping away her tears, the caregiver finally moves in and confronts the agents, asking them why they won't let her have Eleanor. She is her caregiver and needs to do her job. They are stalling to allow time for the airport police to arrive. Here comes the first of three. Lane 2 agent appears to try to provide some background information. The officer is confirming that the woman over by the gate is Nadine and moves toward her. According to the police report, this officer broke up the fight. Then another arresting officer, a woman, enters the scene, passing Teta, who still seems to be texting on a cell phone. Melee is still waiting for Eleanor, and Agent Teta is still playing with her cell phone. She apparently gets to talk to someone as she relates her big event with a big smile as Lane 2 agent listens in. Teta smiles and chats away on her cell phone as another agent enters to witness the big arrest. Screener Teta continues to smile as she relates her story to some cell phone friend. Even though Agent Teta was the engaged agent in the struggle over Applesauce, the airport police decide to interview Lane 2 agent instead, while Teta continues with her important cell phone call. Finally, the third arresting officer arrives. Both officers are intently involved with the two TSA agents' testimonies and did not bother to get any other unbiased witnesses. There were obviously many. Melee is finally given back her charge of Eleanor. With no assistance forthcoming, the TSA has abandoned an invalid 93-year-old woman and her caregiver. Nadine has been cuffed and has been put in an awaiting police car with no explanation as to why they are doing this to her.